to be able to put your hands on something, especially if you're kind of like a one-man sort of unit and you're doing your tweaking and you're changing on the spur of the moment. It's just a real drag to have to like go to your computer and have to change everything and do it too much and too little because you're using a mouse to control the situation. And yeah, you could go the MIDI route and use a MIDI controller to control your desktop recording software. Yeah, that's possible. But I would say that if you're going to go and you want the tactile and control, just go with the mixer. And then, do your external outboard equipment, which outboard equipment basically means things that are hardware solutions like your reverbs, compressors, and these sort of things that you're attaching onto the mixer. That's called an outboard equipment when you're looking for these sort of things. So, yeah, a mixer is definitely something that you want to look at. What I would personally recommend is going with a decent mixer. The best mixer that you're probably going to end up with is some of the ones that I have on there, like your Alesis 6.5s, your PV 8.5s. There's some Behringers out there. You got to be careful. The Behringer's a little bit on the noisy side, but you can get a lot of your bang for your buck on Behringer, though, just letting you guys know. But get one that has a USB output on it. I've put some of those on the site. Get one with an effects unit on it if you can, because for podcasting, you're not really going to need a lot of that. You know what I mean? There really isn't going to be a whole lot of need for you to have, like, an external reverb unit or an external compressor or, gating it. There's... when you get really high up there, maybe that's the case. But, I mean, honestly, for what just about anybody's going to be doing in the podcast world, all the way up into the semi-professional, a mixer with a USB interface and an integrated effects unit is pretty much going to do you what you need. And, honestly, you can get one for about $250, and it's worth it just doing that. It's just kind of the way to go. Yes, you can piece that out and get, smaller mixers, USB mixers, or you could possibly put that into an audio interface, which we'll be talking about in a second here. But honestly, for the money, getting a $250 mixer with a USB interface and effects unit, it's just worth your money. It's just the best way to go, and you're going to find really nice, solid answers out there, like the Mackie, which I wasn't able to find one. But your Mackie USB, your Alesis is awesome. I mean, I would say that's probably the mixer you need to go unless you're going to try to go the Behringer route. But those are just really the two sort of mixers that you'd be wanting to look at as far as that's concerned. Your mic, when you're bringing your mixer in, is probably going to be either a 1/4-inch mic or an XLR mic. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. You can use a converter. Don't go crazy about your mic selection when you're thinking about putting it into a mixer, because you're going to be able to find an adapter. One thing I would say is be careful about going with gold tip and spending extra money on that. Yeah, it may be a better connectivity, but see if it really makes a big difference. You could be talking $10, $20 to go gold tips on stuff. It does give you a better quality and a better connectivity, but, if you're going to be converting that thing anyhow, your converter on your, say 1/4-inch XLR or XLR to quarter or whatever is possibly going to be noisy anyhow. So consider that, though, when you are thinking about a mixer. You know what I mean? If you really are hard set on a microphone that's an XLR connector and that's those 3 little pins, then possibly think about, thinking about that when you're looking at a mixer. See if you can find a 2-mic XLR input mixer instead of possibly having to convert that from 1/4-inch or whatever, because those adapters actually are kind of a little on the noisy end, and the connecting of it, if you move it a little bit, it's going to crackle. So, definitely spend a little bit of time on that. It's really important to kind of think about your mixer. It really is, because you don't really want to be stuck on a mixer and then just have to upgrade. So how many inputs do I need? Inputs is, microphones, or, if you're going to use a tape recording to do your background music and stuff like that, do I need a lot of that? Not really. You know what I mean? You're probably going to be okay in doing an 8-channel, 16-channel, You know, you don't really need to get big because you're not going to be doing any sort of live recording or anything like that, you know, so there really isn't a whole lot of need for that, but definitely consider that when you're thinking about your mixer and trying to put your rig together. You know, what you need to really do is make sure that you have everything considered when you're looking at your rig. Do I have all the cords I need? Do I have the stand, you know, the proper stand that I need? Consider the fact that microphones aren't always the same size. Sometimes when you're needing a microphone clip for your stand for your rig, on your bigger rig, actually even in your smaller one, you know, make sure that you have one that's made for that size of microphone. Some of the condensers, especially some of the ones that have an audio interface integrated into it, actually have those bigger kind of like sling holders. You know, you may need to go that route instead of going with a conventional, you know, like dynamic microphone clip. It just may be too small. So just make sure that you're considering these things when you're trying to piece together and you're trying to look at all the equipment. Again, I tried to do as much of a job as I could to try to give you an idea of what to do, and definitely I came up with the big runners, and they're on in the site, and you can purchase them there. But, you know, and again, take a look at that. Do you want to use a desk mic, a boom mic? You know, how heavy is your mic? Consider that when you're thinking about your boom mic. Does it need to be a heavy grade boom because the mic's really heavy? You know, those sort of things. Take a look at those. Now that we're talking about audio interfaces, let me give you a little bit of brief down of what that is. An audio interface is basically an interface to bring something from analog into the digital world. Now, there's a couple different ways that you can handle this. And let me tell you the big difference that has a tendency of stumbling people up a little bit here. And that is going from, you know, an external sound card to an audio interface. There's very slight differences in the situation. What I can tell you is the major differences is the components that are actually off the PC itself's compatibility. An audio interface isn't really intended to be a sound card, so it doesn't have the components that it needs. Its job is really just to change the audio into digital format. Your sound card is going to have a lot more capabilities, and the price tag is going to be a lot higher as well. So basically what you're doing is you're changing your XLR or quarter-inch or RCA into a USB connection is basically what it comes down to. A lot of your USB microphones will have that already built in. You want to do that. The last thing you absolutely want to do is plug, you know, an 1/8-inch mini into your PC and start recording. I can almost pretty much categorically tell you that unless you have spent a lot of money to upgrade your sound card that's currently in your PC, it's not the way to go. Bring it in USB, and then you won't have your digital loss that way. And I put a bunch of different options on the audio interface side of things. I honestly believe that the Lexicon pieces are the best audio interfaces you are going to find, bar none. If you're not going to go the mixer route and doing a USB output coming out of the mixer, those Lexicon audio interfaces are pretty much absolutely the best thing you can do, especially for the price. The Alphas or the Lambdas or the Omega systems, I mean, just really awesome. The control of them, how clean they are. It's just, I mean, they're just the way to go. You need to buy the Lexicon one if you're considering doing the audio interface route. You know, be careful when you're considering recorders on the rig setup. The reason for that is that you know, if you're trying to do streaming recording on to a laptop from your mixer or what have you, I've had so many recordings, guys, crash because the PC crashed. It is much better to do a external portable recorder if you're going to be doing live recording than doing any other route. Go with your Tascam DP01 or DP02 to your DP004s by Tascam. Tascam, honestly, is the baller. I recommend it. I had a DP02. I love that thing. It is rock solid. I never had one issue with it. It has all kinds of opportunities to do bouncing downs and manipulating the tracks and even doing some editing in the field. You can take that anywhere. The thing is just not going to crash on you. And I put a bunch of those links on there, or you could use one of those portable recorders that I put up on the site as well to do your live recording of this session. But absolutely do not, for the love of God, do not use your PC to do your recording. It's just not the way to go. You may be able to use it on a Mac, but a PC, you just definitely don't want to have that. Let's get on to audio editing now. Audio editing, there's really two different ways to go. And honestly, I've done audio engineering, went to school for audio engineering and video music. So again, more things that Rob's done in his life. But really, there's two people to consider, and it really comes down to money. Do you want to spend money, or do you not want to spend money? So here's what I say as far as audio editing is concerned. You want to either go free with Audacity, or you want to go and spend the money and get SoundForge. I put SoundForge up on the site. It is a lot of money. It is. But I can tell you right now that you are just not going to find a better audio editor for the money. They did come out with the studio version. Honestly, I'm not exactly sure that that's really worth the price. I mean, if you're going to spend money on an audio editing decent package, then you really just want to go put the $300 down in SoundForge and call it a day. But everything that you're really going to need to do can be done in Audacity. I do everything on this show in Audacity of all your editing. So let me backtrack for just a second here and talk about audio editing. Audio editing basically is the ability to change a format into another format. Most of your recordings are going to be waves, and you're going to want to record, convert that into MP3, and then actually do any sort of editing, which is, cutting pieces out or adding in, advertisements or any of those sort of things, trimming it to the size that you need it to be. Any of those things will happen in your audio editing software. But Audacity, it's just pretty much the way to go. As far as hosting is concerned, I can tell you right now, I have done a lot of research on this, and I say right now that the best thing that you can possibly do when you're considering doing a podcast is buy a hosting provider. Go and get Fat Cow. I think it's really the best option out there. They have a deal going right now that it's like $44 for the entire year. You can have multiple domains on there. It's unmetered bandwidth, unmetered size. You can use their cPanel on there to quickly install WordPress or Joomla or anything else you want on there. WordPress with PodPress is an absolute amazing way to go. There's really just no reason that you would really want to consider any of the podcasting hosts. I'll get into why that is. The reason that really is you really need to know the parts of your podcast. And if you know the parts of your podcast, and the technologies and some of the coding of it, the better you're going to be when something goes wrong, the better you're going to be when you need to upgrade or you need to change or any of these sort of things. It's better that you understand things like WordPress, RSS, your audio editing, your recording technologies, your whatever you're using for your FTP clients. It's better for you to know these things, have control of these things, than it is to depend on somebody else doing their thing. With that being said, I did start on Podbean and Podcast Revolution and some of these guys. If you're going to go with a podcasting host, I say Podbean. Go with Podbean. You're going to be happy with Podbean. I've had no problems with Podbean. I put them up as a sponsor because of that. I've had no issues with them. They give you a decent site. But again, if you're going to do this, for the $44, that's going to be cheaper than your price of admission. Fat Cow's even going to give you your domain in the deal. It's a big red truck moment when it really comes down to it. $44 for an entire year of hosting. If they still have that deal, I think they do. But click on the link, you'll be able to go into to Fat Cow hosting. There's no better way of doing it, especially when you're talking about upgrading. You know what I mean? If you're going to pay your $5, $10 a month with Podbean to have a limited site, a limited, availability to expand yourself, why not just roll out your own sites, get the